The Queen of Granada, by M. Riff. Chapter 174, The Booklet. Curious, Rita looked at the booklet and the ink on the paper, which didn't seem to have dried yet. She dismissed it as an optical illusion. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept by, sending a shiver down her spine and closing the booklet. Rosen, standing in front of the bookcase and studying the titles of the books, asked Rita, "Do they teach you Latin at school?" Rita shook her head, saying, "No, they don't." Rosen replied, "Well, there are both Latin and Arabic books here. If we could read them, we'd know what kind of illnesses they treated with their medications." She added, "With all this equipment, we could start making pills and herbal extracts." Feeling uneasy about the place, Rita suggested quietly, "Can't we come back in a couple of days and explore it more thoroughly?" They left the room and went down the stairs to the catacombs. Rosen turned, looked admiringly at the herb garden and the building in the background, and said to Rita, "We're going to keep it a secret, aren't we?" She explained, "As soon as authorities learn of the site's existence, they will open it to the outside world and start attracting tourists." Rita nodded and pulled the tip of her index and middle finger across her lips as if she was zipping a zipper. They proceeded through the passage, and as they walked past the point where the scent of lavender was strongest, Rosen mentioned, "I have a strange feeling that we weren't welcome in there." Rita had the same feeling but wasn't sure how to interpret it. Rosen continued, "When people talk about the eternal rose, they also mention the curse of the rose. They say roses have thorns for a reason. They believe the Romans lost control of this area due to the rose's curse. The Moors suffered a similar fate. The way they left the precious crown on the table, it seems as if they were affected by the curse. I'm worried that if we delve deeper into this secret, it might affect us too." With a sigh she added, "We may have already gone too far and crossed a line we shouldn't have done." Rita looked at her and felt as if the gifted medicine woman foresaw an impending disaster. After a moment of silence, she asked, "Do you think we've walked into a trap without even realizing it?" Rosen replied, "Yes, I'm afraid we have. As we passed unhindered through the secret passage, I already suspected that they might have installed a more deadly trap further on." Rita looked at her and replied, "Sounds like a mummy's curse." She elaborated, "When I was little, I heard on the radio that ancient Egyptians sealed their tombs with a curse. If grave robbers disturbed the peace inside, they would drop dead." Rosen agreed, "There may be some truth to that. Many archaeologists who opened burial chambers died soon after. I think people in the past were much smarter than we can imagine." They walked in silence for a while until they heard a terrifying commotion. But what appeared in the darkness was only a colorful butterfly. Rita looked at it and said, "It's a little butterfly, but it sounds like a storm." Rosen replied, "In the realm of the dead, nothing is as it seems to be." Suddenly, a swarm of bats appeared from the darkness and flew straight towards them. For a moment it looked as if the bats would attack Rosen and Rita, tearing their flesh and leaving their lifeless skeletons in the catacombs. But the bats flew past them and disappeared into the darkness. Rosen had placed her hand on her chest as if trying to stop her heart from bursting through her ribcage. After catching her breath, she said, "In many cultures, bats are seen as messengers of death. I am convinced that we have brought a curse upon ourselves." Rita stared at her, unable to say anything.